Ah, hello there. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. I believe we may have run into one another on a previous few occasions, but I've yet to give myself an introduction proper. You could call me the Necromancer, though that term is a bit of a misnomer. Thanatos would be more apt, but to make things simple, just call me Necromancer. Names don't really mean much in this context anyhow. I've lived many lives and traveled to many places, learning all sorts of mystical creatures and monsters, and today, if you would allow it, I'd like to share with you my thoughts on some very special ones crafted by the late great Kazuki Takahashi. These are monsters exclusive to Japan, colloquially known as OCG monsters, and they're all rather strange or fascinating in their own right. So sit back and have a listen while I spin my yarn. First up on the list of monsters that I'd be reading for you today is a rather curious one by the name of Akihiran, I believe. It's a high-level water monster. Says this strange creature hides in the deep, dark corners of the seven seas. Well, I can certainly understand it. It looks a lot like a deep-sea creature for sure. It's got one big eye and a weird mouth near the bottom of its body. I don't want to mention where quite, but it doesn't seem to have a nose unless that big bulbous bit is a nose. And look at its wings, they're all rounded and weird, but I suppose they're flippers more than wings considering it lives underwater. But also, what's up with these feet? I mean, again, they're probably for paddling, but doesn't seem like a creature would need them in that orientation. Although I have heard of a frogfish before that, or maybe a batfish this could be related to. Quite personally, I think it's a very interesting and original design for a monster. I'd probably give it about a 5 out of 10. Which, by the way, for me, a 5 out of 10 means average. If it's going below that, it starts getting bad. 5 out of 10 is still good in my book. Next up, we've got another interesting water monster. You'll see in this list of 13 monsters that there's quite a lot of water ones. This one is the Aqua Snake, which this monster hypnotizes an opponent with a ball on its tail and draws them to a watery doom. It doesn't look quite like a snake in my opinion, it looks more like a parasite. But to be honest, Kazuki Takahashi does a really good job on the parasitic body types of creatures. And it's very interesting that normally a snake would have a rattle or something like that to ward off predators, but this one that uses it to bring in prey. I think it's a very interesting design, both in that it fulfills telling you what the monster is about and how it attacks, as well as looking aesthetically pleasing. I think personally I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. Next up we've got Daish Armadillo, a machine level 5. An armadillo monster that rolls up to form a dice-like shape. Now, I'm looking at this and I don't see how that's even possible. Is it a 100-sided die, a D% or D100? It does have a lot of facings if you really wanted to, but it's also got spikes sticking out of it. Is it really supposed to be dice as in like the object? It seems more like dice as in the verb. Would be dicing things to their doom. I mean, aesthetically it looks nice enough, and if it actually did turn into a die, I think I'd be rather impressed. For the idea, I suppose I'd give this one a 5 out of 10. Next up we've got the Fungi of the Musk, a level 1 fiend with 400-300. And it melts away anything that dares to stand before it. Looks a lot like a jellyfish if you ask me. It's got tentacles too. I think in the game Dungeons and Dragons. They have something a bit like this called a violet fungus. I'm not quite sure, but I really like the design. It looks like it has a mouth here even, based on the way, but that could just be, there are mushrooms that open up like that, although usually they are uniformly all over where they're opened up. To be honest, I really like the design. It seems that Takahashi has a good mindset for plants in general, in my opinion. I think this one I'm going to also give an 8 out of 10. And next up we've got Gorgon Egg, or Gorgon, however you like to pronounce it. It's a level 3 fiend at 1300. And the Gorgon Egg's massive eyes are said to reflect the fate of its enemies. This one is a rather curious design as well. Got a really big eye and looks like faces down here. The name Gorgon Egg makes you think that it's related in some way to a gorgon, or is it just that it is like a gorgon and it looks like an egg? It's a very curious creature, and to be entirely honest, a creature that makes you question about it and makes you ask questions and curious about the origins and what it can do is also very great design. I think for this one, I also give it an 8 out of 10. It's a very beautiful thing. I'm wondering now as well, is the lore that gorgons all lay eggs? I suppose it makes sense considering that they're based off snakes, but not sure. And here's a very curious one. The Lord of Zemia. It's a level 4 fiend with 1300 attack and 1000 defense. A wicked entity that manipulates enemies towards a path of destruction. Now this one has the name Lord of something, which makes you curious about how it got that title, just like the Lord of the. Is it a place? Zemia? Or is it some sort of magical power or something? In terms of that, it makes me very curious. So it meets the criteria I asked before. So it is a bit curious what's going on right here. Considering this as well looks a bit off to me, but I think simply because of how it's a lord, I'll give it a 5. And here's a really strange one. Mechbass, a mechanized bash with a large mouth and a cannon on its back. The cannon fires blinding plasma rays. This one looks like something out of a magazine stock, but it's a high-level water monster. How did this even happen? Looks like something you just see like in a poster or something, and then he just drew over it and then added a gun. But I have to admit, there's a lot of gumption that he has to actually think to make a bash of all things some sort of threat. Normally you'd take like a shark or a whale or something, maybe even a dolphin, which I suppose they have done those in the past, and then give it a gun and lasers, but this is just a largemouth bash with a gun, and suddenly it's more powerful than like half the monsters. Very curious. This one, if I'm being honest, I think I'm gonna give it like a 4 out of 10. And up we have a Mechball Zombie, a level 2 zombie. This creature attacks by launching missile-like arms. It doesn't look like it has missile-like arms in the slightest. In fact, it looks more like a missile body. Not only that, it looks very curious. To be honest, I'm not sure where they were going with this design. But it's also 3 different things thrown together. A mech, a mole, and a zombie. I have to at least give him some credit for the creativity of it, but I'm not sure on this one. It's got these wrinkles and such, I suppose, for burrowing into the ground, like some sort of drill, but this and the bash, this kind of things that people usually make fun of the old card game for, kind of like they make fun of Voltorb in Pokemon for just being a sphere. These things are just like weird mishmashes of things, but to be honest, I like this, that it's original. I think I'll give it a 3 out of 10. And next up, we have Orion, the Battle King. A high-level fairy monster, which none have lived to tell the tale of this powerful battle fairy. Orion is a Greek god, if I'm not mistaken, but he certainly doesn't look like a bird, which is depicted here in this image. And I don't think he'd be wearing this sort of Egyptian outfit either, so there's a lot of weird mishmash in the lore going on. As well, Orion I don't think was known to be some sort of battle king that murders everybody around him, even the people that are just spectating his fights. And as well, is it drooling here? Or is that, well, I see that there's an earring, of course, but it looks like maybe either a fang or some drool coming out. This weird bird monster, but to be honest, I do kind of like it. It is very curious. Again, it makes you ask questions about it, like, are they a god? I think this one I'm going to give a Shandon out of 10. Then there's Phantom Ghost, a low-level zombie monster, vengeful spirit made of many restless souls. I like the scary fish down here at the bottom, and these weird tentacle-like appendages on top with wings. Sort of reminds me a bit of a Medusa, except in my opinion it's much creepier than that. But while I don't necessarily like the color scheme as much, I think that it's a very original design. I know that Kazuki Takahashi, of course, based many of the designs and ideas off of mythology and of course other games, but I can't say that I've seen anything exactly like this before. I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. Next up is Tao the Chanta, which one does say Enchanted. Master of Yin and Yang, this wizard handles a delicate balance of spells and counter spells. Well, if this had an effect nowadays, it probably would be pretty crazy. But it's a low-level spellcaster. I gotta admit, the design is pretty zany, but I kind of like it. It's kind of backwards, if you notice. Its hands are facing towards this way, but I feel like they also reach that way, considering it's hunched over and the arms are pointing outward. But it's also like a twisting, serpentine sort of body, or is it purely a body made out of this turban or robe-like object? Then these accessories make you wonder if it even has a face. To be honest, as simple as this is, I kind of want to give it a 9 out of 10. Pretty fascinating. Next up is the turtle raccoon. Seems to be a lot of water monsters, but water is home to many interesting and unique creatures, so it only makes sense. This one is an aqua, a rotund little raccoon that shoulders a large turtle shell. It tricks foes using transformation and illusion techniques. Curiously, this does seem to be based on that, and the fact that it's using a leaf in its shape. It's probably not actually a raccoon, but a tanuki, which in Japanese folklore is known for transforming and tricking people. And as well, it's got a shell on its back, making it more like a kappa. So it's two different mythological creatures combined into one. I don't see how the turtle shell really comes into play here, but if it didn't have the turtle shell, it really wouldn't be anything special. It just goes to show that adding simple detail can change something completely. It seems like a different monster entirely. I have to say, I like its silly little face as well. I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. And finally, the 13th creature we're speaking of today is the Yashinoki, low-level plant monster. an intelligent palm tree that drops a hail of rock-hard coconuts on its enemies. Now, if I hadn't seen the art, I'd think that this was a very silly creature. But look at its face, and the way that it just bends so sinisterly in this beautiful background. This tells you how evil it truly is. Now it sounds like, or that it looks like an actual threat. That, I think, is a very good sign of great martial design. When you can truly convey how dangerous it is. I mean, to be fair as well, many people maybe don't know that people die all the time from coconuts falling onto their heads, because I don't really think about the danger of it, and those things are rather heavy and they fall from high distances. And to be honest, I think I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. I think it's very beautiful, as silly as it sounds. I could imagine this being a real threat in real life. Very fitting for horror, which Suzuki Takahashi was very good at. Well, friends, that about concludes it for this episode of Rating Monsters. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments, and maybe we can have a talk again sometime soon. Hope you all have a wonderful October, and hopefully something magical comes your way soon. Beware the witching hour. It's an intelligent palm tree that drops a hot. An intelligent palm tree that drops a hot